Ever since Vare called me maidenless on my first Elden Ring playthrough, I knew I wanted to show him just how many maidens I could amass. So today I'm going to be beating Elden Ring only talking the female NPCs and showing you how you can do it too if you want to brag to your buds about all the broads you beguiled in the lands between. First thing I should go over though exactly is what this run entails and how difficult it is. Sure, this game passes the Bechdel test occasionally if you're playing a female character, but it's not exactly a uterine utopia, so not interacting with male NPCs increases the challenge of Elden Ring exponentially. And for any individuals afflicted with erectile dysfunction out there, talking to male NPCs means that I engage in dialogue with them. If a male NPC talks at me, so for example, pretty much every male remembrance boss in the game, that doesn't count because I'm not engaging in the conversation with them. All right, all clear? Cool. First thing to note is you won't have access to Smithing Master Hugh or EG, so no leveling up your weapons past 3 using the anvil unless you rip a higher level weapon off of someone's corpse. Second is no leveling up Spirit Ashes. You have to talk to Hugh in order for Roderica to muster up the chutzpah to hone her talents, so no peas on ashes. There's also an enormous amount of equipment, incantations, locations, talismans, and ashes blocked behind male NPC dialogue or requests, so I'm going to be hunter-gathering my way through most of the game. Just for funsies though, here's a brief wrap of all the NPC quests you can't complete or even begin because men. Corins, Vares, Vox, Yuras, Gowries, Edgars, Millicents, Irenas, D's, other D's, D's nuts, Garanks, Ronnies, Ragiers, EGs, Fias, Seluvis, Jaren, Gideons, Gostoks, Kenneth Hyatts, Thops, Roderica, Patches, Alexander, Jarbairns, Dialos, Burnhalls, Ryas, Blackguard Big Bogarts, Dung Eaters, Sellins, I count the half-dead sorcerer guys as dudes, plus Jaren, you know. Actually, I think it'd be quicker if I told you what quests you can do. Hyetas, Taniths, and Nephilis. Yeah, that's it, I'm pretty sure. Okay, so what kind of tools does that leave you with? Well, you could pick your favorite weapon, level it up to 3, stack it with bleed or some sort of damage boosting weapon art and go, go, go. Or you can murder a male NPC to get their potentially higher level weapon. You can also go full mage mode as Incants are fully on the table and you can buy them from pre-Blueberry Jawbreaker Sellin since she's the doll doling them out. First in foreskin though, you gotta create your character. I went with a more trendy tarnished. Women these days are into long-haired emaciated rat men like Bill Skarsgård, Timothy Chimothy, Pete Davidson, etc. So that's what I did. Women are also always talking about liking a mature man, so I aged him up and then made him a samurai because they're really cool. Boom, lady killer. Then I gotta give myself a coochie quaking name, so Bustin' Cider it is. God, he could get a woman pregnant just by looking at her. Next, it's time to flaunt my good looks and fortune to the vindictive Vare. You roasted too deeply, too greedily for too long, Vare, so I sliced through his skin and flesh like it's, well, skin and flesh. After my Vare vengeance has been extracted like a neglected rotting tooth, I murder Santa Claus for absolutely no reason. Ooh, bows. Rudolph dies too. Then I move on to my flask and golden seed scavenger hunt. Melina ambushes me and identifies herself as a maiden, so I decide it's safe to engage. After a brief discussion of fingering and equestrian techniques, I know she is of my horse girl ilk, so accepting a record is an obvious choice. I take Torin and trot away. She later invites me to the local Gymkhana gathering, but I find few female friends there that I can actually speak with. Next, I run into Roderica, and I'm excited to talk after being so terminally touch-starved, but she's too caught up about the dismemberment of her friends by a Frankenlord freak to pursue anything serious. I take the princess jellyfish baby with toxic spit up and call it a day. I personally did not end up using Spirit Ashes for this run, but that's because I played this game more times I got fingers, toes, tits, and a clit. So use whatever summons you like at your discretion. You're doing this for you, not to appease the get good with a you crowd. Just remember that you won't be able to level them up, so eventually they will have no use to you once you get to late game bosses that'll put down a level 1 lone wolf like a Pete Endor shelter dog. At this point, I decided I already am going to go for a bleed build in order to maximize damage of a level 3 weapon, and find Bloodhound Fang being an easy early game cop. I put Darrowwill to death and proceed to gather more not male walled talismans and equipment. By the time I tackle the first boss, I have the axe talisman, turtle shell shield for stamina recovery, and not much else, as I prefer to feel the wind breeze by the fruit of my looms. And I like a light roll. Finally, time for the action. Since it's early game, the consequences of my in-game misandry have yet to catch up with me, so I'm feeling about as undeservedly big-dicked as the average PvP bleed user. Margit gets put down as swift and deep as the sewers from which he was banished to as a baby, and then I subsequently storm Stormvale Castle and put the kibosh on the Prince of Polygarmy. Then I make my way to Liurnia. From this point on, you can explore and have a little more creativity with your pathing. I use this time to pick up the last of my somber smithing stones I needed, yoink the always helpful Erdtree talisman, and went to see if you can actually kill EG. Spoilers, you can't. The overgrown coward teleports away, or at least I couldn't get the health bar down in time with my meager level weapon. I make my way to the capital to teach Draconic Tree Sentinel a lesson from a real horse girl and then farm some levels. It's about at this point that I start to realize the restraints of not being able to level up my weapon. I'm taking off tiny incremental bits of health, like a Pikmin trying to eat the world's largest cookie, like a Lego man trying to wank off the world's largest wiener. It's a true David versus Goliath task. Oh wait, look, I won. But I can't yet lay siege to Lanedell until I lay dead one more lord. Renala seems to be the obvious choice, but I'm a girl's girl, and without talking to men, I can't reach Radahn at all, so I'm left with no one else but Rykard and his band of blasphemous brutes. I tra-la-la my way until I reach Tanith, tell her I admire her treacherous ways of the other tarnished, then I make my way to the blasphemous Burger King-looking lord himself. Pit stop to quickly smite the smoke facsimile, yoink the Serpent Hunter and level it up to +3, which honestly isn't half bad damage-wise. I can't complain. Then it's finally time for this femcel to take out yet another mean man. Rykard is the middle child of a divorced family, and it shows. He's desperate to be different and wants everyone to know he's read berserk. I don't chat him up as per run rules, and it reminds him of being ignored for Radahn at family dinners, so he freaks out, flailing and summoning skulls straight from Satan. I quickly put an end to his life and the punk rock lava serpent cult that he was cultivating and make my way to the capital. Melina, my merry maiden, then pays Bust Insider a visit, and it's the first time I've spoken to anyone since Tanith, so it's fair to say I'm lonely. I get bold thinking she's only got one eye, so I'll only look half as bad to her and try to put the moves on, but she set her life goal on becoming a burnt babe, so I'm forced to move on. Godfrey's Ghost is next. He has like 4 moves max, so I make mincemeat out of him by utilizing basic mechanics like hit and dodge. Morgott, however, proves to be a bit more of a challenge due to the increasing health pool of bosses, and also because I just feel bad for him. Dude's sitting here guarding the Erdtree seal from being burst open like a piñata for a family that's abhorred him since birth. He was primed to be the next Elden Lord, actually, sitting there in Godfrey's sack, fiddling with his foreskin, ready to be liege. But then, unfortunately, he was born wrong, so forever jail for him, I guess. He fights as valiantly as an old man in rags wielding a walking stick for a weapon using cartwheels for combat could, but I put Grandpa down for his now and forever nap, neglecting to even listen to his last words because, well, Y chromosome and all. His death was truly in vain, though, since the tree is still sealed anyways, so I feel extra shitty about that. Oh well, at least I have Melina to gab to. And she still just wants to die. Cool. Moving on, I scamper around in the snow a while, farming runes from local fauna until I feel tanky enough to take on Fire Giant. I'm at level 82 at this point, but still do the damage of a disabled dung beetle. This won't really change though, no matter how much I level up, and I'm still ignoring incantations and items at this point like the inflexible ignoramus I am, so it's kinda all on me. At this point, I've scored the main talismans I'm using this run that are accessible to me, which include Blue Dancer Charm, because naked, Erdtree Talisman, Ritual Sword Talisman, and Flame Drake +1 for fire resistance, along with the infamous Turtle Shell Shield that gets a "Oh God, is that Master Roshi?" comment from at least one first-time chatterer stream. Yeah, I guess first-time chatters sound like Jennifer Coolidge to me, I guess. Anyways, this already bloated battle during a normal playthrough takes me a fantastic 15 minutes to get through with my wimpy +3 weapon, sans cutscenes, and that may not sound like a long time, but you try finding a person who can focus on a singular task for 10 minutes in this country of crippled attention spans. Point is, I put down this mega-sized mole person and make my way to the colossal cookout cup over yonder. Melina is one of the only people I've talked to in this manless run, so when she expresses she wants to, sacrifice herself, I begin to think Vari was right about me being bitchless. But as Melina begins to barbecue herself before my very eyes, I now know, yeah, he's right, I'm bitchless. Having little left to live for without my level up lover, I head out to Humpty Dumpty myself from the Forge's edge, but am whisked away to a windy world. Wondering if there's women here, I decide to live another day and explore. Imagine my disappointment when instead of a woman I run into not one man, but 2 in the worst fucking FromSoft boss fight since Bed of Chaos. I hate this boss. There is nothing redeemable about this fight save the music. As someone who has done this fight rune level 1 with no summons, ashes, consumables, etc., I must admit I'm a bit of an authority on it and cast out others' opinions because they're bad. Let's start with the arena. It's too small. The columns take up valuable rolling real estate, and they get easily broken down halfway through, denying the useful fireball coverage they presented prior. The boss's combat styles don't complement each other, and even if you take one down, they respawn. Also, at any point, due to EldenRing's cutting-edge enemy AI button response system, pressing the heal button will trigger their long-range fireballs. These fireballs do have a sound cue that you can carefully listen to avoid getting hit if one of the godskins is out of view, but it's still difficult to balance between them. Also, fireballs can travel through each of the godskins' bodies, fun fact, so it's made hitless attempts at rune level 1 with certain builds nearly impossible for me. Thankfully, this ain't a hitless run, or a holeless one, hopefully, but I still struggle with the absolute unicellular-sized scraps of health I'm slowly shaving off, so I decided to throw my pride and rules down the world's deepest well and finally use items. It was either that or crash out in front of my chat, and I can hardly afford my own therapy bills, let alone theirs. Sleeping Pots put a stake in the hearts of this demonic duo, and I put garlic around their necks to make sure they don't come back and move on to much more enjoyable boss. Place Do Re Mi Fa Sol La Ti Sax isn't a required boss for this run, but he's an easier one for me, and I need the runes, so I make the detour through time and space to finish the job Bale failed to do. Flaccid Sax isn't hard for me, what a shocker, and I swiftly breeze past him. Take the blue pill next time, you lousy lizard. Now that I'm feeling a little more beefed up, it's time to move on to Malekith. Malekith is the blood-crusted, sweat-soaked, death-root, breath-possessing, shadowbound beast and half-brother of Queen Marika the Eternal. He starts out as grody old Garok and then transforms into extreme furry bait about halfway through. I acknowledge his athleticism through the asinine acrobatic stunts he's demonstrating, then give him straight to hell with the rest of his furry family. In his dying throes, he asks why I covet destined death. I don't know what that is. Do I look like I read lore and tell him I only seek the death of my virginity? So if he knows any fox girls that can num me from the back, oh wait, he died already. I don't even have time to lament that I'm still lacking the touch of a lady before Leyndell is set ablaze at the exact same time I beat Malekith. What a coincidence. Well, maybe now I can make it through the tree seal. I just know they're hiding hoes in there. Blocking my path, though, is that namby-pamby know-it-all Gideon. I've never spoken to him yet, but he still mouths off monologuing to me that a man cannot kill a god. Well, not with that attitude. I pound his prostate into prune juice, but let my guard down and he spell spams me into oblivion. Like, seriously, that health bar is non-existent. Why is he not dead? Did my grip on reality go straight to my pussy? Does anyone have any marbles? Because I've clearly misplaced mine. This is dead. His health is 0. I don't The enigma of how Gideon still lives continues to concern and frustrate me until I realize I'm now in big trouble, since after the first attempt he doesn't monologue anymore and actually focuses on combat, which is the loose term I'm using to describe the cheap spell spamming of other bosses' magic. Do I look like someone who enjoys PvP? I would have been completely satisfied cowardly ganking him amidst his inaugural address, and now I have to collect all 7 Chaos Emeralds and magic resistant equipment, change my build to something speedier, or just get lucky. Being lazy, I opt for the latter. It's honestly not that bad. I'm just a bit of a bellyacher if you haven't noticed already. At the slightest Elden Ring inconvenience, I'll act like I'm being subjected to a human rights violation. It's just part of my charm, what can I say? Anyways, I fuck this old man until his hips shatter and life alert goes off, and then continue my quest, adding elderly abuser to my list of crimes. I don't even have to travel that far to find yet another elderly man to abuse either. Godfrey is a retired grandpa seeking an audience with Marika, who's one of the only chicks left in this land that I can actually talk to, and I'm very lonely at this point, so Grandpa's gotta go. Halfway through, he strips off the armor that's been locking in his own aroma, kills his cat, and bathes in its blood. If the first wave of funk falling over him wasn't enough to do me in, the complete change in combat style assuredly tripped me up. It's not my fault Sun Tzu never wrote a chapter on what to do if your enemy suddenly switches to WWE tactics. Unfortunately for him, I don't believe in play fighting and RKO him for real, and he dies singing my praises. Finally, after a colossal cockless journey, I've made it to the Her Tree and intend on ending this drought of dames. I'm level 103 at this point, having focused on Vigor because it's the best stat to survive, and Dex to try to increase damage output as much as possible within the constraints of this run. I make my way to Marika, hoping for Muff, only to find yet another man. Damn. Bustin' Cider is heartbroken. This is the worst day of my life, and I got a spreadsheet to prove it. God is speaking to me through the pixels at this point, begging me to quit, but I gotta hope Mommy Marika will be there for me at the end. Radagon comes after me post-haste. He swings his heavy hammer around but can't lift it up quick, which provides plenty of time for proper punishes. I could have guessed his pull-out game was weak since the last broad he boned he attached to in one corporeal being instead of nailing and bailing. I ring around the Radagon enough times to tuck in this toddler, or at least I thought, but then he transforms into the sentient version of what happens when I mixed all my Play-Dohs together in kindergarten, and I can't identify its gender, nor does it inform me, so I attack on sight. Once again, I'm confronted with the consequences of my own actions. Even with bleed, my damage output is like a flea trying to bleed dry an elephant. The full fight takes over 15 minutes, which is the record longest fight for this run. I would bite through a polar bear's placenta to not have to do it again, but at least it's over. I'm finally gonna be able to make love to Marika, my goddess, and she's dead. The body is still warm, so I try to put her together best I can in time for one of the game's most mid-endings. After such a long journey, Bustin' Cider could finally rest as Elden Lord. So to recap, yes, The game is completely possible to beat avoiding talking to male NPCs. It increases the difficulty in some ways, but Elden Ring Bechdel Edition is possible. Thank you again for watching my video, y'all. I hope you enjoyed it because I plan on doing more random shit like this in the future, so feel free to give me run suggestions down below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll talk to you later, unless you're a man, of course.